I am a progressive Democrat that won in a primary election and ousted the fourth most powerful person in the Democratic Party. I understand why people would say Tea Party of the left. The exception is that my district is overwhelmingly progressive, and our representative was not representing our actual positions.
I'm in this to do the most good each day. That's what I'm here to do. So.
And Bob Inglis, who's got some scars to show for his the degree that he cares about climate change. He's a Republican congressman from South Carolina who was primaried actually in 2010 and defeated largely because you said you believed in climate change. What do you think?
Well, I think we're seeing the formation of a Tea Party of the left. The Tea Party of the right that tossed me out 10 years ago and went into this decade of disastrous disputation. I think we're at risk of that happening now on the left. Because, you know, last night, Donald Trump was in Michigan. There was a crowd that was really cheering for him.
They were also chanting, AOC sucks at some point, I think.
And so, but what I'd ask you is, what's the difference between last night and tonight?
A freshman congresswoman who 3 weeks ago didn't know the 3 branches of government. I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty scary.
So, but what I'd ask you is, what's the difference between last night and tonight? This is the mirror image. This is the flip side. This is the. That's
a good question. No. You guys are making his point when you do that. Just FYI.
Yeah.
What I will say.
No, what do you think about that?
So here's what I think. What I think is that we are committed to policies that make American lives better. And we're actually talking about something substantive. We're not calling anyone names.
President Trump ramped up his attacks on Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar today. Yamiche Alcindor begins our coverage.
And a special thanks to Representative Omar of Minnesota. Oh, I forgot. She doesn't like Israel. I forgot.
President Trump has repeatedly criticized controversial remarks by the Muslim lawmaker.
They can't stand. They cannot stand that a refugee, a black woman, an immigrant, a Muslim shows up in Congress thinking she's equal to them. When we are talking about anti-Semitism, we must also talk about Islamophobia. Is two sides of the same coin of bigotry. What we are fighting for is not for the few, but for the many. So I can't ever speak of Islamophobia and fight for Muslims if I am not willing to fight against anti-Semitism. This is not going to be the country of the xenophobics. This is not going to be the country of white people. This is not going to be the country of the few. This is the country of the many.
I'm in this to do the most good each day. That's what I'm here to do. So, that's what it is. And guess what? I'm 29. I'm the youngest woman to ever be elected to the United States Congress. I have plenty of time to learn, and I'm not afraid to make mistakes and iterate in public either. And frankly, if the mistakes that I'm making are just a one-off, like, rhetorical thing, you correct it, acknowledge it, and move on. At least I'm not trying to cage children in the border and inject them with drugs. That's not a mistake. That is a deliberate policy to attack people based on their national origin. That's not a mistake. That's just hatred. That's just cruelty. That's just wrong.
We're going to go to Washington now, where President Trump has sparked a storm of outrage after a series of racist tweets targeting members of Congress who are women of color.
Julie, tell me about the president's tweets. So the president wakes up on Sunday morning, he's at the White House, and he starts tweeting about...
The president Sunday called out progressive Democrat congresswomen.
quote unquote, progressive Democratic congresswomen.
Tweeting, why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came?
Who he says originally came from countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe. The worst, most corrupt and inept anywhere in the world.
Now loudly and viciously telling the people of the United States, the greatest, most powerful nation on earth, how our government is to be run.
And he basically says,
why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came?
Why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? He never mentions AOC or Ilhan Omar or Ayanna Pressley or Rashida Tlaib, only one of whom was not born in the U.S., but he clearly is targeting them, and he ends the series by saying,
these places need your help badly. You can't leave fast enough.
I'm sure that Nancy Pelosi would be very happy to quickly work out free travel arrangements. So he's clearly talking about them and alluding to their kind of rift with the speaker.
And what do you make of that? That the president, the leader of the Republican Party, decides in the middle of this Democratic battle to send that tweet?
I want to make sure that every single person who is in this country, who's aspiring to become part of the American fabric, understands that nothing this president says should be taken apart. We are Americans as much as everyone else. This is our country, and we are where we belong.
President, if I may, when your supporters last night were chanting, send her back, why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you ask them to stop saying that?
Well, number one, I think I did. I started speaking very quickly. If you would have heard, there was a tremendous amount of noise and action and everything else. I started very quickly, and I think you know that. Well, I know. Maybe you're giving me too much credit. You're used to giving me too much credit.
If we have basically the mirror image of a Trump rally on climate change, that we drive all the people away that could come our way and solve this thing now, and then could we come back to things like universal basic income? Could we come back to health care? Because, I was in 2 Congresses that were totally consumed by health care. You can't do it in a single Congress, the entire Green New Deal. It is literally impossible with the number of committee references that you would have in the course of that. So is it possible that we say, listen, climate change is the thing that we're seeing the whites of its eyes. We've got to act now. Can we come back maybe to universal basic income a little bit later?
Hey, that's unacceptable. And that's the difference between me and Trump.
That's good. I appreciate that.
Back to the actual issue.
Hey friends, my name is Russ Fugel, and I put together this montage for you. If you appreciated it, please check out my writing on medium.com/@RFUGAL. First initial, last name.